Welcome to this next lesson in FlutterFlow 101. We're going to go over layout basics. This is going to be fun for numerous reasons. Have you ever seen a design on Dribbble and been like, man, that's a cool design. I wonder if I could build it in FlutterFlow. Throughout this lesson, we're going to hopefully teach you the basics that you need in order to come up with the elements, the layout, the styling that you need for most like impressive designs on Dribbble, because that's the beauty of FlutterFlow, is that you can actually build out anything. You're not stuck with just templates. I know we talked about flows and custom, the theme and all this stuff and components and template pages in FlutterFlow. 100%. They're great. Awesome. They're not for every use case, right? You don't be bound by them. You can have complete freedom. You want to build a robust home IoT app? Go for it. You want to build custom charts? You can do it. Have fun with it with custom code, but also with the UI builder, we can build almost anything. So I'm going to jump out of here actually, because we don't need my expanded one, and I'm going to just jump into, let's go ahead and do this. We're just gonna build some UI. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and create a new page, create blank, and we're gonna take two approaches to this. First approach, we're gonna talk about building for mobile. Second approach, we're gonna talk about building for web. And I'll make these two videos so that you can sort of, these are just basic layouts. Okay, and widgets within FlutterFlow. They're going to be helpful. So mobile example. All right. Now again, the way I got to a page was Command K, and then I just searched add page, and then I did it. Now within FlutterFlow, there's this toggle in your settings that allows you to add app bars, which is a very common UI element in mobile applications. You can add it to all new pages, or you can remove it completely. You can also drag it in from the builder. But this will automatically provide a safe area, right? So here you go. If we have safe area on the page, it doesn't really matter if you have an app bar, because it'll just automatically assign safe area so that your title here, welcome, doesn't get overlapped by the notch or the dynamic island or anything like that. So this is a design by the wonderfully talented Isaac Sanchez. He does a phenomenal job in all of his user interface designs. And this is a perfect example of something that we could do in FlutterFlow. Beyond this little outline of a logo of an icon here, you could do them, I guess. No, you couldn't really. There's no way to do two-tone icons in FlutterFlow. That's probably the one caveat that's oh, that sucks. But beyond that, this is something that we can build in FlutterFlow, and it's a pretty complex layout here. Beautifully done, by the way, right? It provides design principles like hierarchy, spacing, information architecture, right? The 60-30-10 rule, right? We're drawn in here to this beautiful graph. We understand average gross income probably is what this means. So, or monthly balance, what we have in there. It's properly it has proper hierarchy. And then recent transactions. So let's go ahead and build this page. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to make our page white. So let's go ahead and do secondary background, and we can set the app bar as well to a secondary background. Okay. Now, the title for his page is actually in the center, and here it's left aligned. So there's an easy way to do this. You can just toggle on the title properties, center title. Boom, perfect. We can also drag in here you go, text. Let's do that. Let's wrap this in a column. So in Flutter, not just in FlutterFlow. In Flutter, if you want things to stack vertically, you utilize a column. If you want to stack things horizontally, you use a row. Very important. Those are two layout elements that when you understand the nuances of them, or just the basic functions really, your design can just become wild. It's going to be great. So, all right, let's go ahead and change this text. We're going to say checking account, and let's go ahead and do bank. Oh, this is all uppercase. Bank of America. Now he has a little bit of space here. We can do letter spacing. So let's just do like maybe 3 here. This is great. So text elements, right? We have the ability to set a text style, and then we're utilizing a body or a label small here. In his design, he also has 2 icons on the left and the right. Now, when we have this, we can just do icon button. I will always use, well, not always. Best practice is to use an icon button. They don't always work because they conform to material design guidelines, which states that any touchable area has to be at least 44 pixels. And so icons, if they're less than 44 pixels, icons don't scale well. And I'll show you what I mean by that, but not up here because it'll behave differently in the app bar. So, okay, now he has a primary background instead of this, our primary background, which is a slight gray. So I'm going to just make this secondary background, and the fill color, let's do primary. That's a slight gray there. We're going to add a little bit of space here. If you do 6 and 6, it's going to make a perfect circle there, which is good. And then we're going to add this to a search. Now you can add custom icons. I've added custom icons here, so I will just utilize that. But the material icons are really great out of the box. They do a good job. We can't copy and paste into the app bar. So if you try to copy and then paste, it'll say must drop into leading title or action section. All right, not a big deal. We can just do this. We'll drop it in there. And then what we can do is we can copy this padding. We can apply it over here and then just add 12 pixels to the right instead of the left. We can also copy this style. So copy widget style, and we'll just paste it over here. Sweet. Oh, sorry, we'll just do 12. And then we can change that to an account icon or a user icon in my custom icon pack. So there you go. All right, so we essentially have this. I think his icons are even a little smaller, so maybe like 20. And I think they're a slight gray. So we're going to do our secondary text, which is our gray text. And we'll do that here as well. Perfect. And now let's go ahead and build this. Sweet. And we can utilize a column here. This is great. He also has a slight page background. So the top section is white. The graph is on a white background, and then the recent transactions is also on a white background. So what I would do is I will drag a container into here. Let's do infinity width. This is just going to take up the full width of the space, and it's better than 100%. For some reason in Flutter, infinity is just better. You know, you can do 100% and it's just not the same. So yeah, just do infinity. And we'll just go ahead and increase the height for this now. Now, since we utilize the container, that also means we have to utilize another column, okay? Containers don't have any layout properties. They're just stylistic, essentially. You can just apply styling properties to them. Same thing with columns. You can't apply styling properties to a column except padding, which is layout. And columns allow you to stack things vertically. Right, so let's go ahead and add a column here. And what we want is we want 1 text element, 2 text elements, and then a row, because the row is going to provide us with the ability to stack 2 buttons side by side. And for this column, we also want to make it center the content. Okay, so over here, when you select your column or your row, there are some default alignment icons. Here you go. Right, space in between, space around, space, this is space around, space evenly. We're just going to center it. We're going to add a little bit of spacing on the column itself. I like to utilize the spacing, this item spacing, rather than like padding on specific elements. Now, every now and then I'll add additional padding on elements, but overall, I really like this spacing. Okay, so we're going to do this one as our body small again, and available. Oh, sorry. Available balance. Sweet. I'm going to also just do this one. I think display large. We're going to just do that. Perfect. Now, in order to get this stuff like correct, right? The spacing correct. We have a implicit height set on this container. You can actually remove explicit heights from containers, right? You don't need them. But what we can do is we can add padding here. So we can add padding 24 on the top, 24 on the bottom. That'd be great. We can also do like 16 pixels on the left, 16 pixels on the right of this row. This will allow us to have some spacing on the right and left of those buttons. So we're going to do that. Let's do 16 in between. And let's go ahead and drag a button over here. Okay, now we want a button in this row. As you can see, we're dragging it in the row, not the column, not the other column, just this row here. And we can duplicate that. But first, let's go ahead. Some widget styling, some theme widgets already set up, but I won't utilize them because you may not have them set up. So let's go ahead and make this fill color our secondary background, which will be all white. Let's remove the elevation. We do not want the elevation because it's going to be a bordered or a ghost button, as they say. We're going to utilize our alternate, which is our slightly gray color here. And then in our text, right, when we went through typography and color, our title is always going to be white. So as you can see, it's always white here. Let's go ahead and change it to like body large, which means it's going to adjust for dark and light mode. Okay, sweet. And we also, his buttons are oval. So we have border radius here. Let's go ahead and just make it 44, maybe. Just whatever you want to make it always, you know, the oval instead of rounded corners. The last thing is we want an icon. So select the button, come all the way down, and we can select an icon. Let's see, down. Sweet. And his icon is gray, so we'll do that. We'll go make it 24, maybe 20. Now, for me, when I have an icon, the icons in the buttons are only going to appear on the left, for one. And then two, as you can see, this spacing looks really funky to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a Flutter thing or what, but you can fix this, right? There's a little more space here than there is here, or at least visually, there's more. Like I don't know if it's actual space, but visually it seems off. You can change that with this button padding. Let's go ahead and do it 20 on this side, 24 on the right. Perfect. Now we're going to duplicate this. And we want these two buttons to take up the full amount of space, right? And so what we're going to do is we're not going to set these to width infinity, because if you set something to width infinity in a row, it's going to break. It's going to give you a layout error. I'll show you. Boom, infinity. Invalid action. You don't want to do that. No. But what you can do is you can expand them. So let's expand. Sweet. There you go. You have your two buttons. Let's go ahead and change the text here. Deposit. Oh yeah. And then this one is transfer. And let's change that icon. Very nice. If you wanted to, right? So on that column, I said we want to initiate spacing from here. Now let's just say for the heck of it, right? We wanted to, in his design, he has this this column, right? Like these buttons are a little lower. And so what we can do is if we do want to set this container as a implicit height, so let's go ahead and do like 220 for instance. And we wanted this to float, this text stuff to float at the top and these buttons to float at the bottom. There's an easy way to do that. You could use a spacer or you could just expand this row. And expanding this row will just say, let this row take up all of the space, just like these buttons. And then you're like, oh, well, okay, but I don't want these centered. Oh, no problem. Let's just align them to the bottom. Perfect. Okay, so there you go. And we have the space here. And now when we set our primary background, sweet, we have it. It's pretty good. Pretty close to the design. Now let's go ahead and add a container here. And what we can do is on this column, let's say we want 8 pixels spacing. Sweet. Uniform. And then we'll give it 8 pixel border radius. So here, what I'm doing is the border radius is it's detached, right? This is singular. You can set 8, 8, 8, 8, or you could unify the borders and just set 8. Okay, rock on. Now let's go ahead and do another column in this container, because like I said, containers are just stylistic. So let's go ahead and add a column. This column can have a little bit of padding, which is great. So let's go ahead and give it a little bit of padding. And it has a row up top, right? So there's a monthly deposit on the left. There's a AVRG on the right, and the amount below it. So let's go ahead and drag in a row here. We can drag in a text element here. We can drag in a column element here. Now, there's 2 things we're going to do. The reason why we're using a column element here is because we want another text element. We want 2 of them stacked on top of one another. Okay, so I'm going to tell you or teach you how to make these sort of go to the right or left. There's 2 ways to do it. The first is to touch or to select the row and to do space in between. Perfect. This is great, and almost one of my favorite ways to do this. But let's just say that this text is huge for some reason. Okay, like let's just say monthly deposit of my bank all day, something like that. You know, we go up. As you can see, it's going to push off that other content. Now, we don't want it to push off that other content. So space in between does work, but it's not the perfect way to do this. Okay, the perfect way would be to say monthly deposit, or monthly balance, sorry. Let's go ahead and set it as label small. We'll also set this one as label small. And then we want it to be at the top, and we want this to expand. Doop. Perfect. We can also set some spacing here. So now if we did this, it would wrap. You may not want it to wrap, and in that case you could expand this column so that it always sort of grows. Okay? Doesn't really matter, but expanding the text that most likely will grow is going to be pretty important. So we could, in this column, what we're going to do is we're going to set the alignment to the right. And this text is going to be AVRG, so average revenue gross is, I'm guessing, what it is. We'll just say that. This is a pretty good number. 45.5K. Yeah, monthly balance, not bad, not bad. It is the same size in his designs. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll even change up set this like 44. Cool. All right, now we need a graph here. So let's go ahead and we have a chart. We can drag that chart in. And again, we'll just expand that chart because it was overflowing because it had an implicit height. And we don't have spacing, we just have it on the row. So on this column, let's go ahead and add 12 pixel spacing. That's perfect. Let's change this chart type to bar. Okay, cool. And let's also, we can do 2 of these. So this number list, what we can do is just set to random integer for now. Yeah, integer, let's say 200, min list 100, max list 200, random list of dates. Okay. 7. And let's date time format, looky there. We just want Monday. Yeah, we could even just do EEE, or EE, I think, is going to be perfect. There you go. Paste this in here. Cool. All right, so we have bar color, border color. We can change the border radius to like 4. which is I think what he has. And we can change this bar width. So I think he has like 20 maybe. That's pretty good. We don't know how many it's gonna have, but then let's go ahead and add another data type, right? And let's see if we can overlap with stack bars. Oh yeah, looky there. But this color sucks. Canary. Yeah, we'll just do that. Cool. Data source, number lists, bar values, and we'll set it to paste. Yep. All right, random integers. That should get rid of the little guy right there. So, all right, and we're going to show labels. So I think down here, show legend, show labels. Label 1, 2, 3. We can update this text here. Let's go ahead and update this too. Perfect. Cool. So we have this chart, and then we could do our own labels down, or like a legend down here as well. So we could just do a row. We could set that row to the far right. And we could say container. We'll make it like 12. We'll set it to last week because he has that green. And then we can duplicate that as well. We can set a little bit of space on this row. So let's just go ahead and do like 8. And we can drag a text in there. Oh. And there you go. Sweet. So there you go, and then we can multi-select our text, right? Because his texts are really small, so we can do that. And we can also edit both of these at once if you wanted to. This week, oh, it actually changes. So this week, and then on this one, we'll just do last week. Okay, cool. All right, so we have that, and now we can do recent transactions down here. So let's go ahead. Well, all I'm gonna do is copy and paste that, because why not? We already did the work. We do not need this column here. What we're going to do is we're going to say recent transactions. We're going to change this text style to maybe title large. Remove that. Remove this. And in this row, we're going to have 2 icon buttons again. So expanded. Okay. Yeah, we have this icon button. Let's go ahead and reset the padding here. And we'll reset this item spacing on the row to 12 pixels. So there you go. And so in the design, it's centered. So this text element is actually centered instead of top. So we'll do that. And we can again change our icons. So we'll do filter. There you go. And search. That's great. I could have already just saved that. All right, now as we get to the bottom of the page, as you can see, this is not. We have some overflow issue. How do you fix the overflow issue? Well, columns and list views and grid views and tab bars are scrollable. So we can make this scrollable. Let's just turn on scrollable. Boom. And now we can scroll this list view. Now, tip and trick of the trade. Whenever I have a scrolling element, I like to add some padding or some in spacing. So 16, 32, something. It just provides a little bit of spacing at the very end. Whenever you query data, the idea would be that you utilize a list view or a grid view. Those 2 elements are much more flexible than a row or a column. So let's go ahead and add a list view. Okay. Now, this add elements panel came up when I pressed Command F, because I am in the pages view over here. So we have list view here. Now in this list view, it's going to stack horizontal, or it's going to stack vertically, right? Because we have it vertical alignment instead of horizontal alignment, and it's going to give you an error there whenever you try to change it to a horizontal alignment because it needs to be wrapped in an actual container. And it also needs to be expanded. So if we want to do that, we'd have to expand this, which we can expand anyways. But in this, What they have is a column or a row, right? So you have two text elements over here, and I'll show you. You have two text elements over here, and you have one text element over here. There's nothing that we need to style in the background, so we probably can do without a container, but we probably will start with a row, right? And then a column on the left and a text element on the right. Now, you don't need to stack your, if you just have a column, or you just have a column over here with two text elements, you have a text element over here, again, no need to wrap this in a column or wrap this in a row. You can just expand this guy. Boom, this is great. We will cross-axis alignment to the top. On this column, we're going to cross-axis alignment to start, right? Columns and rows, they do these things differently. They flip them. And we're going to also set some spacing, some item spacing on this row. So 8 pixels. Okay, that just provides us with a little bit of space. Even if this does overflow, we're going to have a little bit of space before it hits this. So 2.34%. And we'll just make it small because that's exactly what it is. It's a negative value, so let's put an error there. And then we can drag that down. So this text element is a label small. It's going to be a ticker. We're going to add a little bit of space in between this too, 4 pixels. And then we can say Tuesday, April 25th, 24, 3, not bad. Now, also in this list view, we can add some spacing in between items so that when we duplicate this, which you won't duplicate this in actuality, right? This will be a dynamic list, but for the sake of this design, we'll do that. And he has a little bit more space in between, so let's do like 12, maybe even 16. Okay. Now this, since we expanded this list view and we made it primary, it has primary here, right? So when we scroll down, we can actually scroll within this list view as well. Okay. So when you do dynamic, dynamic lists, making them primary and expanded so that they are scrollable is best practice in accordance with Flutter. It'll make your applications perform better. If you have shrink wrapped on, it can be buggy. So just a word of wise. If you want performance, then just do that. There's one thing that I don't like about this, and it's because this scroll bar is in the middle of the page. I hate that. It's one of my pet peeves. So let's go ahead and fix it. It's a really easy fix. We have this row and list inside of a column. That column has padding. Let's just go ahead and remove it. And let's add the padding that we want to this row. So we'll just do 8, 8, and 8. 8. Perfect. And then we can just set these rows with the padding. And again, this will be, these would most likely be components. So you'd only have to do this once and then it will be, fed in there. And now our scroll bar, even there, is on the side of the card. Very nice. Okay. We can do that. And we have our design. Pretty close. Pretty close. Right? Not bad. That is mobile layout.